What's going on? I hope you're having a great day. This video is going to be very different than I typically do because you mainly see me picking up items in thrift stores and sharing brands and tips that way. And so I thought for today's video, I'd pause from the normal stuff that I'm throwing out there and share my reseller journey with you. It's been a while since I've actually done this, and I've gotten a lot of new followers who probably don't really know me that well. So let me just pause in the normal rhythm that I have and share my journey with you, both what I was doing when I started reselling and how I went full time. And my hope is with this will connect with each of you in a way that will encourage you where you're at. So let's rewind all the way back to August of 2016. It's right that I'm doing this video right now because this is August of 2025, right around the same time, 9 years later. So back in August of 2016, my wife and I had decided to take a trip, a 3-day weekend to Carbondale, Colorado. We were living in Denver at the time. We wanted to get to a mountain town and just have some time to unwind. And it was a great trip. We loved it. We were staying out in this kind of remote area and just had pretty views of the mountains. So throughout this weekend, as we were going downtown to eat and things like that, we were just walking around, perusing the town, and we came into this thrift store. My wife and I walked in and I immediately found some Cool pants. Now, if you don't know Cool, it's an outdoor brand that retails for close to $100 for a pair of pants. And I happen to like Cool, so I tried a couple pairs on, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get them or not. I had just decided that I would take them home, and if I didn't like them, I'd sell them on eBay. Up to this point, I had sold a few things on eBay around the house, just random items. I knew I could get the money back from them. They were 10 bucks a piece. So I ended up taking them home after the trip and decided I didn't want to keep them. I had 2 pairs, 10 bucks each. I flipped them for $30 each. And after those sold, I realized the opportunity that I had possibly in flipping clothes online. I was in Denver, Colorado at the time, so I had a huge supply of outdoor gear, which was kind of up my alley. I really loved men's outdoor gear at the time, and I still do. After I sold those items, something in me kind of hooked into I can make more money doing this and have some fun. And at the time, we were not making a lot of money. I mean, we both had jobs. We were trying to make ends meet, and we were okay. But I knew that having some extra money could be helpful. So this is when I started coming home from work, and once or twice a week, I would pop into a thrift store. I would look for some items and start flipping them online. I'd spend about 10 hours a week listing a couple of days, at nights, on the weekends, and shipping out every morning as an item sold. I remember those early days really well. We had a 1-bedroom apartment. Everything was in the corner of our bedroom. And at this point, I just had like 10 or 12 items online. And it quickly started to grow. As I would make sales, I would reinvest all of my profits back into the business. I didn't take any money out. Remember, we both had jobs, so I didn't necessarily need to take money out. So if I made $20 profit on an item, that would be 4 more items that I would go back to the thrift store and then pick up. And I quickly started to grow my inventory. I did this for 1.5 years, selling an item, going to the thrift store, buying 4 or 5 more, selling those 4 or 5, going to the store, buying 10 or 12 more, and so on and so forth. And when you start doing this, you really start to grow your inventory. After a few months, I had already accumulated a few hundred items in my store. So at the time, I was just doing this as a side hustle. I was just having fun with it. I didn't really think that I'd be going full time. It was just something that I enjoyed doing. And I enjoyed hearing that cha-ching on the phone. So I started in August. After 7 months of doing this, March had rolled around. And mind you, I'd been building up my inventory for quite some time. And March typically is when buyers start to purchase again after the Q4 season, where they've spent a lot on Christmas and stuff. They kind of go into hibernation for a couple of months and then come back out in March as the season changes. And that's when my sales really took off. So in March, my sales tripled from February, and I wasn't expecting it at all. So it was a very pleasant surprise. And I started thinking, whoa, I just tripled my money. My sales are really starting to roll in. Now, my sales were good before then, but now they've tripled. And I'm starting to think I'm making a good chunk of change that I'm bringing in from my full-time job on this part-time hustle. So it was then that I started having the conversation with my wife, like I could possibly go full-time, but this is something that I hadn't done for a full year. It was up to this point, it was just 7-8 months. And it seemed a little premature to go full-time with something. So we decided the plan was, it wasn't right at the moment to go full-time, but just to keep building it and seeing what would happen. And of course, with all of our decisions, especially financial decisions like this, we wanted to make sure that we were on the same page, and we were. So I continued to build a business for the next year. And April of 2018 rolls around. Now, by this point, I've got 700 to 800 items in my store, I'm regularly going to thrifts on the weekends. I'm shipping out every morning. I'm making multiple sales a day. Things are going really well. And again, I'm still having that conversation. Is this the time? I met with another friend who was a successful entrepreneur, and he was saying that typically a good rule to follow is when you have 25% of your income from a part-time side hustle, you can consider going full-time. But I wanted to feel like I had 50% of my income in order to pull the trigger. And I was getting really close to that. So fast forward to April of 2018, I've been working full-time for all this time. I've been building this hustle on the side, 10 hours a week, on the weekends, after hours, shipping in the morning before work. You get the idea. We had some friends that we had just had dinner with, and he was sharing about his job and how he just was having a hard time with his work. And on one morning in April, he had texted just saying, I just quit my job. And I know they didn't have another job lined up. He had had a rough weekend, and he just was like, I'm done. So I was just thinking, whoa, William just quit his job. Like, I know they're not well off financially. So I know this was a hard decision to make, yet they still did it. He doesn't have a job lined up. And I started thinking, I want to quit my job. At this point, my role is going well, but it's slowed a little bit. So I've got like 4 to 6 hours of work to do in an 8-hour day. And while I'm at work, just kind of bored out of my mind, I'm thinking, man, I really want to be out building my business full time. And so when William quit his job, something in me started stirring, and I went to work that Monday morning, and I just couldn't, there was a restlessness in me that I couldn't shake. I was tapping my pen as I was working, and my coworker was like, are you all right? I was just like this nervous, anxious energy, and I was just like, I want to quit my job. And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, is today the day? Now, I'm a believer, and I believe I have this voice inside me, the Holy Spirit, that guides me. And I felt like the Holy Spirit was saying, quit your job. Now, that may sound crazy to you all, and I know some of you don't line up with those beliefs, and that's okay, but this is where I was. And so here I am processing, like, do I quit my job today? This was Monday morning, and I texted my wife, and I was like, I don't know why, but I feel like I should quit my job. And she texted back, whatever you feel, I trust you. Make the decision that's right for you. Mind you, we've been talking about this for the past year, so this wasn't like out of the blue. And by this point, I had really good sales every month. But still, it's a big decision. So I decided I was going to take the rest of the day. I was going to do the work that I had, but I was also just going to sit on that a little bit. I talked to a good friend, and I put that in front of him and just said, what do you think? And he was kind of advising me like, yeah, go for it, like jump. And I'm one that tends to think about things a lot before I jump. So by this point, it's not like I just had the thought and just leapt out of the boat. I had been thinking about this for a while. So I had decided that by the end of the day, I would talk to my manager, and I knew this would be out of the blue for her. So I sent her a message and just said, hey, can we chat at the end of the day? And she said yes. Now, prior to this, I had asked for a raise, a long overdue raise, and had received half of what I asked for, which was about 10% of my salary in a raise. And I thought they're going to offer me more money to stay. I was an excellent worker, and I had a reputation for excellence in the company and getting things done on time and meeting my deadlines, and I knew my value in this company. So when I met with her and just said, I know this is going to come out of the blue, but I'm going to put in my 2 weeks notice, she was like, well, if we can get you more money, would you stay? And I had already decided if they asked that, I was going to say no, because I wanted to go build this thing on the side myself full time. So I just let her know I wasn't willing to negotiate more money. At this point, they knew I was building my business on the side. They knew I sold things online. And I just mentioned that I wanted to go full time and give it a go. I also knew that because of my reputation within the company, if things went south reselling full time, I could probably get a job back there again. So April 6th of 2018 was my last day at this company. April 9th was the first day. It was a Monday that I woke up and did not have to go to work as I had once gone to work. I got to wake up, and I remember that feeling of, thank God it's Monday. I get to do what I want to do, and I'm my own boss, and I can build what I want to build, and I can put all this energy into building it and getting rewarded for it as well. So that was April of 2018. It's now August of 2025. There's been a lot of time in there. Those first few months were rocky because now I can't reinvest all the profits back into the business. I have to take a salary out, which hurts the bottom line, obviously, but we got to have money to live off of. And again, my wife is working, so that helped too. There were many months right after going full time that I was like, am I going to make it? Am I going to stay afloat? I was making great sales. It's not like my sales had tanked, but again, I had to keep taking a salary out of my bank account, and I wanted to make sure I was making more than the salary that I was taking out. But for a while I was questioning, am I going to stay afloat? And it's been 7 years and I'm still afloat. This business has changed over the last 7 years. I'm no longer just on eBay. I've got onto other platforms. I have a reseller spreadsheet. I've also been making content and doing things and adapting to things as they are. I'm doing retail arbitrage. And I say all this not to brag about what I've done, because that's not my intention, but to encourage you, if you'll stay open to possibilities and what maybe you want out of life, if you keep taking steps forward, and if you keep putting time into building whatever it is you're building, it is possible that you can get what you want out of life. I by no means consider myself this huge reseller who makes all this money and, gets to travel all the time, but I make a comfortable salary. I have my own time. I have flexibility, and I don't have someone over me who is telling me what to do. Now, of course, there are obvious pros and cons to having your own business. You also have a lot more things that you have to do as the owner of your business that if you work for someone else does. So it does come with the territory, but I would say I wouldn't trade it for going back to the office. You could pay me more and I'd still do what I'm doing. So again, I hope that encourages you. I hope that finds you where you are and gives you a little bit of a boost, a little bit of wind in your sails to keep going, to keep charging forward, and to make what you want out of this life. Thanks.